On a dark autumn night in Charlotte, North Carolina, a young pregnant woman is targeted in a drive-by shooting.
Police, I've been shot.
You've been shot? Where are you at,
My son.
The horrific attack grabs national headlines because the victim's boyfriend is pro football star Ray Carruth. Were Shericka Adams and her unborn son victims of a drug deal gone wrong?
You could tell she was very foggy, trying to figure out exactly what had happened.
Or did her boyfriend plan the hit? Shericka Adams grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was her mother Sandra's only child.
Well, Shericka, even as a child, was very focused, very determined. She knew exactly what she wanted, just vivacious, full of life.
She was like a little light bulb. I mean, she was just a bright spirit, basically. I think a lot of things that your parents try to teach you, that you can do anything or be anything you want to be in life, she believed that about herself.
By the time she turns 21, Shericka's as determined as ever, forging a career in real estate with a busy social life.
She always knew, like, where the latest party was, and she knew some pretty influential people, so it was always pretty much a new experience going with her. I never knew where it was going to take me or who I'd meet.
It's at a party in Charlotte in 1997 that Shericka meets football player Ray Carruth.
She called me on the phone, told me she met this great guy, and she couldn't believe he was, so much fun.
Carruth is a talented college football player who has recently been drafted by Charlotte's NFL team, the Carolina Panthers. He has signed a 4-year contract worth close to $4 million. Born in California, Carruth had always dreamed of playing pro ball. Now at 23, he's hit the big time. The young athlete and Shericka become an item almost immediately.
Just knowing his personality and her personality, I think they had a lot of fun together. They probably laughed a lot because Ray was a very upbeat, funny person.
Then, on Mother's Day 1999, Shericka tells her mother she's expecting a baby. And the father is Ray Carruth.
That was like one of the best Mother's Day presents that I could get, knowing that I would have a grandchild. She was so excited about the news. She was just glowing, very excited.
Still, Shericka knows she's not the only girl in Carruth's life, and she's not happy about it.
He was involved with other women, and Shericka was such an outspoken person, and she wasn't trying to be number one. She was wanting to be the only one.
But Carruth had left a string of ex-girlfriends behind, and he'd already fathered a son in California. He shows no sign of changing his ways.
She decided for herself she was just going to end the relationship, and they would be co-parents, is what she called it, and just both have a part in their child's life, but it might be better if they didn't date.
For Carruth, the news of Shericka's pregnancy comes at a bad time. Though his first season with the Panthers had been spectacular, he'd been plagued with injuries ever since. Rumors start circulating that he's becoming a burden to the team, and Carruth is worried. Already paying child support for his son in California, it seems the last thing he wants is another child.
His first reaction was he wanted her to have an abortion, and she was very adamant that she was not going to have an abortion.
I think that he was used to being in charge of the decisions that were being made. And with Shericka, he didn't have control. over what was going to happen.
But when he realizes Sharika is determined to keep the baby, Carruth gradually appears to accept the idea.
As time went on, he seemed to get more excited about it. He was going to doctor's appointments. He even had gone to Lamaze class with her.
In November 1999, Carruth invites Sharika out on a date.
She wrote in her journal was their first official date as a couple again, that they had decided that they were going to work things out, and so she was excited.
Sharika meets Carruth at his home, and the two of them go to the movies. Afterwards, they head for Sharika's house, driving in separate cars. Sharika follows Carruth. They reach an isolated stretch of Ray Road, just minutes from the movie theatre. Woodland flanks both sides of the street.
Baker, you need police, fire, or medic?
Police, I've been shot.
You've been shot. Where are you at, man?
5 times. Come on.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You're on a wireless phone. I don't know where you are, so tell me where you are, man. Where are you at?
At Calvary Church. On the
Calvary Church.
left side in Jeff Street.
You're where?
On Ray Road.
You're on Ray Road.
Sharika has been shot 4 times in the back and neck. She manages to keep the car moving, drives it onto the lawn of a nearby house, and there, struggling in pain, she calls for help.
Okay, where are you shot at, ma'am?
I don't know. I was driving.
You were driving and someone shot you?
Yes.
Did you see the person that shot you?
I'm 8 months pregnant.
You think about what must have been going through her mind at the time.
I'm going to connect you to medic. Continue to talk to them because, ma'am, we have to help you. We have to find out where you are. Stay with me on the line. Ma'am, stay with me. Stay with me. Keep talking to me, ma'am.
You would hate for anybody to experience that. And especially with her carrying a child.
When police arrive at the scene, they find Sharika alone in her car, badly wounded. She is rushed to the Carolina Medical Center and goes straight into surgery so doctors can try to save her and her unborn baby. In the early hours of November the 16th, 1999, Chancellor Lee Adams is born by emergency C-section. He's 10 weeks premature. And the little boy has not escaped unharmed.
They really gave me a very grim prognosis because he lost so much oxygen and so much blood. Every part of his brain had been affected. And the neurologists were telling me that, you know, basically he might just be existing, that he wouldn't be able to walk or talk or learn.
Sandra's first reaction after arriving at the hospital is to call Ray. She knew Sharika had been on a date with him that night.
I repeatedly just called him on his cell phone. I was trying to contact him, and I never heard anything from him, and it took hours before he actually came to the hospital.
Homicide Detective Darrell Price is also sent to the hospital.
When she became conscious again after surgery, she had been intubated, so she couldn't speak, but she was alert. One of the nurses had actually given her a piece of paper and something to write on in it, and, you know, was asking a lot of questions.
Sharika is barely clinging to life, but finds the strength to write notes based on her memory of the shooting. She writes that Carruth was there when the shooting happened, and then had driven off.
She was asked, did he do this to you? And she didn't indicate that he did, but she didn't indicate that he didn't. It was more of a big question. You could tell she was very foggy, trying to figure out exactly what had happened. And, you know, so she made several notes of some things that had taken place to give us a starting point.
Shortly after talking to detectives, Sharika falls into a coma. Police ask Ray Carruth where he went after going to the movies with Sharika. He claims he went straight to a friend's house, which the friend corroborates. But Detective Price isn't convinced. He decides to go back and try to pinpoint the time of the shooting.
When she called 911, our computers document the exact time she's calling. And we knew that the shooting probably took place then or a minute or two prior, but not a whole lot of time. So we knew pretty much the exact time.
Next, Price needed to locate Carruth at the time of the shooting. It turns out he was also talking on his cell phone when Sharika was calling 911.
Through cell phone triangulation, we were able to tell that he was within a short distance of the actual location that the shooting occurred. So we knew based on that the story that he was telling us was not true.
9 days after the shooting, the police believe they have enough evidence to arrest Carruth for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and attempted murder. For many who knew him, it's a shock.
I didn't feel like that was something that he would do because that wasn't his personality.
Police examine Carruth's phone records and arrest 2 other suspects who he had spoken to on the night of the shooting and in the days beforehand. They are habitual criminal Van Brett Watkins and drug dealer Michael Kennedy. Carruth is released after posting $3 million bail and agrees that if Sharika Adams or the baby dies, he will turn himself back in. All 3 suspects claim they're innocent and say nothing to implicate the others. That is, until Ray Carruth gives a television interview that enrages Van Brett Watkins.
Carruth came on television and they were asking the question, well, what do you think about this person that the police department's brought in? And, you know, that's what set Watkins off. When he saw Carruth saying that, you know, I hope that this is the guy.
Carruth's comment is enough to make Watkins break his silence with police. Incredibly, he admits that he was the trigger man in the shooting of Sharika Adams and that Michael Kennedy was the driver of their car. He also says that Ray Carruth planned and paid for the hit.
Watkins' story fit all of the evidence that we had compiled. It fit. He told us where he threw the gun. The gun was actually located where he said he threw it. You know, he told us exactly where it took place, which he wouldn't have known that. He told us, you know, where Ray's car was, where their car was, who was driving his car. And he had no reason to tell those lies because he admitted the culpability of being the shooter.
So far, Ray Carruth is still only charged with conspiracy to murder and attempted murder. But then, on December the 14th, 2000, Sharika Adams takes a turn for the worse.
When her vital organs were shutting down and they knew that she wouldn't have a good quality of life, you know, I made the decision to have them take her off life support because I knew how vivacious she was. And because of our faith, I believe that she's in heaven. So it made it easy to make that choice.
When Carruth hears Sharika has died, he doesn't keep to the agreement to turn himself back in. He runs. Carruth is now a fugitive, wanted for first-degree murder. Police and the FBI launch a search. After just one day, and acting on a tip, they find him, hiding in the trunk of a friend's car in Wildersville, Tennessee.
At 5:45 p.m. Central Time, Ray Caruth was arrested by FBI agents at this Best Western Motel.
The tip that led to Caruth's capture came from an astonishing source, his own mother. Apparently fearing he might be shot by police if they cornered him, she had turned him in. On November the 20th, 2000, at Mecklenburg County Superior Court, Ray Caruth goes on trial for his life. If he's found guilty, he will face the death sentence. Prosecutor Gentry Cordill lays out the state's case. He says the most compelling witness will be the victim herself.
And I ask you to listen to one tough little lady putting up a heck of a fight for life. Hers and the baby's.
The courtroom listens in silence as Shericka Adams' 911 call is played.
Okay, can you tell what part of your body you're shot on?
My back, my neck.
Okay, how'd this happen?
I was following my baby's daddy, Ray Caruth, the football player.
So you think he did it?
He slowed down, and the car pulled up beside me.
And then shot at you?
Yes.
The atmosphere in court was very hushed when they played the call, and even people on the defense side were just holding their breath.
And then where'd he go?
He just left.
Okay, all right, what's his name?
Ray Caruth, he played for the Panthers.
Okay, what's his name?
Ray Caruth.
It really was a very proud moment for me to sit there and listen. It just demonstrated my daughter's determination. She was just being such a wonderful mom. She was taking care of her child.
Football hero Ray Caruth drove away and left Shericka Adams and his own son for dead.
To have her own words, that was very powerful. I think I've ever had that kind of evidence in a case before.
Next, Cordill outlines the trail of evidence to the hospital, where after surgery, Shericka wrote notes implicating Caruth.
He was driving in front of me and stopped in the road. And a car pulled up beside me and he blocked the front. I think Ray had something to do with it. Before we left his house, he called someone and said we were leaving now.
At the time, Shericka had no idea who Caruth was talking to. But from phone records, police identified the man as Michael Kennedy, the getaway driver. Now, incredibly, partway through the trial, Kennedy, who had previously denied involvement in the shooting, decides to become a witness for the prosecution. He points the finger firmly at Caruth.
Ray giving me the money to get the gun, and that he wanted me to drive his friend to follow him after he left the movies, and that he was going to, I guess, attack Shericka or make her lose the baby.
He then talks the court through exactly what he says happened that night.
Ray went over a hill and then down in a dip. Then he stopped his car. She stopped behind his. Then Watkins told me to pull up beside her car, and he started shooting at her car.
To Detective Price, Caruth's motive for the shooting is obvious.
He was a young, aspiring athlete in his mind, and he had gotten a woman pregnant that he wasn't in love with, and didn't want to consider the fact of being tied down through a child, through child support or alimony or whatever else may have come out of that. And he felt that the easiest thing to do would be to have her killed.
With the dying words of Shericka Adams, her notes, and Michael Kennedy's testimony, the prosecution is feeling confident. Now, it's the defense's turn to present their case.
His intention on November the 15th, members of the jury, was to be the best father he could be.
Carruth's defense attorney, David Rudolph, looks to undermine the prosecution's witnesses. He begins with Shericka Adams herself, claiming her dying testimony is not reliable because she was too concerned about her unborn child's safety. Next, Rudolph turns his attention to Michael Kennedy and Van Brett Watkins, the confessed triggerman who'd cut a deal with prosecutors in return for a lesser charge and a lighter sentence. Rudolph accuses the two men of making up the story implicating Carruth to deflect blame from themselves. He says they had gone to confront Carruth that night over a botched drug deal. The defense calls a county sheriff's deputy who says Watkins confessed to her while in jail.
And he said, Sergeant Riddle, I just lost it. I lost control. He said, I just started shooting. And he said, Sergeant Riddle, it was Ray's fault. If he had just given us the money, none of this would have happened.
When he takes the stand, Van Brett Watkins again admits to shooting Shericka.
I fired one shot and 4 more shots. Bam, 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 bam. She was screaming.
But he sticks to his story that Carruth paid him to do it. And turning to address the jury, he denies making any jailhouse confession. Still, the defense hopes they can provoke Watkins' quick temper in court, making the jury question his reliability as a witness. And Watkins doesn't disappoint.
I'm 286 pounds. Okay, I would rip you like a rag doll.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe him. He was full of surprises anyway.
After a trial lasting 8 weeks, the defense rests. Ray Carruth never testified. His fate is now in the hands of the jury, who must decide if Shericka's murder was the result of a drug deal gone wrong, or Ray Carruth's plan to eliminate his unborn child. For Carruth, it's a matter of life and death.
I'd ask you to hold him responsible for what he did. Hold him responsible for what Shericka saw him do.
The jury deliberates for 16 hours before returning their verdict.
We, the jury, returned the unanimous verdict as follows: that the defendant, Ray Lamar Carruth, is guilty of conspiracy to commit murder of Shericka Adams, but not guilty of the first-degree murder of Shericka Adams.
Despite believing Ray Carruth did conspire to kill Shericka, the jury controversially refuses to convict him of first-degree murder. They don't believe he should get the death penalty when the actual shooter, Van Brett Watkins, got a 40-year sentence.
I felt a little bit disappointed because I knew he should have been charged with murdering my daughter. But I felt relieved that he would be going to jail. He would not just be walking out of that courtroom, going back to his all-star life as a professional football player.
Shericka's mother, Sandra, makes a heartfelt plea to the judge to give Carruth the maximum possible sentence.
I just knew that I wanted that judge to understand that my daughter's life stood for something, that she had a meaningful life. Let him take a punishment, not of a little boy, but of a man for one time. Let him be held responsible for the acts that he's done. Being able to make that impact statement was my one and only chance, I thought, at getting across how important that it was for justice to prevail. And I wanted to convey that with all the intensity, with all the emotion, with everything that I had in me.
On January the 22nd, 2001, Ray Carruth is sentenced to 18 to 24 years in a North Carolina state prison.
Because he was a star player, he felt he was above the law. It doesn't matter about how much money you have, how much status you have responsibility, and you have to be accountable for your actions.
to think that someone that has that place in society could commit this heinous of a crime, I think it bothers people to the point they don't want to believe it. Had she died at that spot, I'm not sure this case would have ever been solved.
Yeah, you ready to get on Lexi? You ready to get on Lexi? Yeah.
Ever since her daughter's death, Sandra has cared for Sharika and Caruth's son, Chancellor Lee.
Chancellor is definitely our miracle boy. He's doing so well. Everything that the neurologist told us, the grim prognosis, you know, I never believed it, I never accepted it.
You ready, Lee?
Whoa, oh.
Good job. Oh, walk on, that's right. I believe that Sharika's in a much better place. We'll see her again. Chancellor knows Mommy as his mommy angel. I miss her tremendously, but I have her in my heart, and I have her in Chancellor. He helps to make my life complete. A lot of people think I'm there for him. I think he's there for me.